It's time to take a new approach to finding true fulfillment in your career, health, and state of mind through insightful conversations with those who have found their professional and personal passions while achieving balance. Whether it's entrepreneurs, athletes, or healthcare professionals, we bring you real people, real growth right here on the Boost Podcast. Now, here's your host, Elena Lipson.
Hey Boost Squad, and welcome to episode 37. Elena Lipson here, and I am so pumped to introduce today's featured guest, Tristan White. Tristan, are you ready to join the Boost Squad?
Absolutely, Elena. I'm ready to go.
So before we dive into today's episode, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Mosaic Growth Partners. Mosaic Growth Partners provides growth strategy consulting to entrepreneurs and organizations in the healthcare and older adult baby boomer market. They can help you bring a new product or service to market, identify and engage new customers and partners, or grow your market share. They also provide coaching and training. For more information, go to mosaicgrowth.com. That's mosaicgrowth.com. Now back to today's featured guest.
So Tristan is the CEO and founder of the Physio Co, which helps Australian seniors stay mobile, safe, and happy. On-site physiotherapy, or as we call it in the US, physical therapy, is their thing. In 2004, the Physio Co was just one person with a vision to change seniors' healthcare forever. Today, the Physio Co is ranked as Australia's best place to work and has 100 team members and delivers over 200,000 physiotherapy consultations per year. Tristan is a qualified physiotherapist from the University of Melbourne. He has an MBA from Queensland University of Technology and a master's degree from MIT from their entrepreneurial master's program. Tristan also loves helping other people build strong cultures and be happier at work. He writes a blog called Culture is Everything, which Smart Company lists as one of Australia's 25 best business blogs. And he's also a speaker. So we have so much to discuss with you today, Tristan. I want to hear all about your work with the Physio Co, as well as the systems that you use to create successful cultures in your organization and in others. So let's just jump right on in. And why don't you tell us, what are the 3 things that we should know about the Physio Co?
Yeah, okay, Elena. Well, let's get started by saying the Physio Co, yes, it was a startup, but now it's actually just turned 13 years old. So the Physio Co is a teenager, is the very first thing to note. Secondly, we're very clear on our core purpose, the why the organisation exists, and that's physiotherapy or physical therapy for seniors, with a very clear core purpose to help seniors stay mobile, safe and happy. And the last thing that probably is important to note in that we're very proud of not only the great work we do with our seniors, but the great work we do with our team members. And so for 8 years, the Physio Co has been one of Australia's 50 best places to work. And that's something that we continue to grow and evolve. So in summary, 13 years old as a teenager, very clear focus on seniors, and one of Australia's best places to work for the last 8 years.
Well, congratulations. That's a big accomplishment to be in business for 13 years. And I am so impressed that you've decided to serve this really important market of older adults. I want to talk a little bit more about how you settled on that market and why you felt like it was so important to serve that market versus the general population.
Yeah, Elena, fantastic question. And there's a little bit of a backstory on this. And that is that when I graduated as a physical therapist, I personally had this 10-year career dream that I would move from a junior physical therapist working in the large teaching hospital system to become more and more skilled with sports people and move into, ideally my career dream was to work with elite sports people in the AFL, the Australian Football League down here in Australia. And I started that career direction, but after just 1 year, I really had a huge conflict of head versus heart. And my head was telling me that elite sports was the right direction for my career to progress to, but my heart was not feeling content and not feeling that I really would be satisfied in a long-term career working with what, on reflection, was helping healthy people become healthier, which is typically what working with elite sports people is. And for me, it just wasn't as satisfying as I had hoped it would be. So, Elena, after 5 years of university and 1 year of studying my career, I moved back home with my parents with no job and I reflected on what really did make me happy. And I decided on, for two reasons, I decided on working with older people was something that firstly made me happy and made me satisfied and made me feel like I was doing something useful in the world, being able to help an older person who may have a dream or a goal to stay living in their own home and be independent without needing too much care, to be able to walk outside their house, down the steps, and out to get the mail from their mailbox each day is a goal that is very important to that person. And I felt if I could help them do goals like that, which were very, very important to those people, then I would be satisfied in my work as well. The second part of the reason was that I also thought through what is likely to be the health trends and the demand for physical therapists in the coming decade. And I could see that working with older people was a growing area of expertise. So based upon those two things, I started working at a very small aged care home in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, and that was 13 years ago when I started working in elderly care.
That's great. So now that you've been working in this space for about 13 years, what do you see as some of the main differences between serving seniors versus serving a younger population?
Elena, one of the biggest differences is that with the senior population, sometimes maintenance, and what I mean by maintenance is helping people stay at their same level of mobility and the same level of strength and balance as they get older is a great outcome, a great goal. But working with younger people, it's nearly always about improvement and nearly always about reaching a new goal. Whereas with older people, staying at the same level can be a very good achievement. And the second part of that I think is really important to notice is that I find that working with most senior people, there's a much more, dare I say it, physical therapist working as a counsellor and as a friend and as a confidant with the client, as opposed to, so seniors can sometimes be a little bit more socially isolated, and spending time with them, just talking and chatting can be very beneficial. Whereas with younger people, we find that it's a very functional, practical physical therapy approach, that they simply want the help with their particular injury or ailment, whereas there's a more holistic approach with seniors.
Yeah, that is such a great point that you brought up. There's so much technology out there today that allows people to age in place and to get care from their home. But then the flip side of that is some people worry about older adults becoming very isolated because they're not going out and having those interactions. And I hear stories about people that are really looking forward to going to the doctor because, it's almost like a social time for them. They get to talk to people in the waiting room. They talk to the doctor. So I totally get that. What are your thoughts then on some of these like tele-rehab technologies that are coming out compared to, what you do and what more traditional physical therapists do?
Yeah, Elena, I think there's a place for technology. There's no question about that. This rehab using technology is a great adjunct to to care from physical therapists and from other healthcare professionals. And I personally think that, at least for the time being, it's a blend of the face-to-face interaction and possibly supplemented by technology to help people stay on track with their rehabilitation, help therapists keep in touch with the progress, and then we can actually have a more effective therapy outcome if we combine technology which can fill the gaps between therapy sessions. But I still think at this stage there is a place in a majority of cases for both face-to-face and technology interactions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thinking about kind of maintaining adherence in between sessions, I know personally I have trouble with that. I'm in physical therapy now for a sprained ankle. And as time has gone on, I've just gotten worse and worse about doing my exercises at home. And so my adherence kind of falls off. Have you found there to be a difference in adherence between older adults and younger adults?
Not specifically, Elena. There's certainly differences there are probably some trends, but what we do find is that older adults typically have more time available than what younger people do have, and maybe that's, I don't want to sound like I'm copying out on this, Elena, because if you with your exercises and me with my rehabilitation from a running injury, I can make time to do my exercises if I make it a priority and the like. Having said that, we find that older adults do have more time, and therefore with the right prompts and the right systems or reminders, we do find that there's probably a little bit more commitment from senior adults. By the same token, it's a personality thing. people who will definitely do their exercises will definitely do their exercises, and people who are reliant on the therapist to remind them will always be reminded, whether they're 20, 40, 60, 80 or approaching 100 years old. Elena, is my experience.
Well, that doesn't sound like a very good prognosis for me if I need physical therapy as I get older, but good to know.
There's hope for you, Elena. But, I don't want to dismiss you. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I've gotten worse and worse over time. So it sounds like if the differences aren't due to age and it's just innate, then that's probably how I'm always going to be.
Elena, I've just got one quick story to tell about a socially isolated older person. Is that okay if I share that for a moment?
Yeah, please share that with us.
Yeah, so one of our team members at the Physio Co was awarded an MVP award, a Most Valuable Person award, this week, and it's a reward and recognition program we have for living our core values. And Brooke was the person who was a physical therapist, and she won an award for living a core value because what she did, she went to see one of her elderly clients who was at home. It was a home visit client, and when Brooke got there, she noticed that the resident was looking not as energetic as she had been at previous appointments, and she was sort of feeling a bit sick and a bit down. And Brooke went in and had a chat to this lady, and it turned out that this lady typically lives with her brother, who was a bit of a carer for her, but the brother himself had a fall and had gone to hospital. And so this woman was barely coping with being at home on her own. And Brooke had found out that this lady had some breakfast, but she hadn't had any lunch, even though it was in the afternoon. And so Brooke heated up some veggies for this lady to be able to have some lunch. She helped her get organised for her medications that she needed to have at lunchtime, which she hadn't had. And Brooke also noticed that there were some ants on the bench and the dishes from yesterday weren't done. So Brooke very quickly rolled up her sleeves, did the dishes for the lady and got her organised for the afternoon before then moving on to a shorter physical therapy session with her client. And then when Brooke left, she made sure she connected with the resident's family to make sure there were other people to support her when she left. And I guess Brooke won an award for that because she lived our core value of being memorable so beautifully in a caring way. But it's just an example of how things can go from a supported, caring environment for older people to very quickly a socially isolated and possibly risky situation if there's not the right supports in place.
Yeah, that's a wonderful example. So I know like here in the US, we have organizations like Meals on Wheels that deliver food to different adults, and they work with a lot of older adults, but they don't just deliver food. They'll come in and they'll change a light bulb for someone if they need that too. So sometimes these services that, are intended for one specific thing, when you're working with older adults, it's really great when the team members are able to provide that extra care and just help these people like live comfortably if they're struggling a little bit or don't seem so great that day. So that's such an important example. And I think that's great that you've embedded those values and that culture in your team. I want to hear a little bit more about how you build a culture in your team, which has grown fairly large. And I know that you have a lot of systems in place that can be transferred to other companies as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure, Elena. And I think it's important to share here that the culture systems that we've got in place at the Physio Co have been in place since most of them originated around 2009, which is about 5 years into our business. And why they started at that point was we had been growing. I had been growing a business from 1 person to 20, but I really didn't embed the right systems and processes to empower people to really do their life's best work. And it was from 2009 onwards that I've been obsessed over how do you do it? How do you create a strong culture but allow it to flourish and grow using systems? And so it was by default rather than design that I had to discover these systems because I was a bit stuck at that stage. But to give you the overview of what I call the culture is everything approach to building a strong culture, and Elena, there are 4 main parts to the system that I've built that we use at the Physio Co. And the first one is called Discover the Core. And what I mean by Discover the Core is a really crystal clear core purpose as to why the business exists. And secondly, a set of 3 to 5 core values which describe the behaviours of the people, all the team members, as to how we operate and how we behave to really bring that core purpose to life. And so some quick examples of that. The Physio Co exists to help seniors stay mobile, safe and happy is our core purpose. And therefore we're very focused on working with seniors, and we don't do physical therapy for the general population, for example. And secondly, there are 4 core values which are part of the Physio Co system. Respect everyone, be memorable, find a better way, and think big, act small are our 4 core values, which we use for our reward and recognition program. And we also use those core values in every team member's performance review that we do once a quarter. So I guess, Elena, the system starts with the foundations of a real solid core. Okay, so the first step was discover the core. The second one is document the future. And again, this part was learnt by pain in that if there's not a really clear vision for a business, it's very difficult for team members to follow the lead of the executive team and to actually bring a vision to life or to be purposeful. So in my experience, it's important to have a long-term vision, and which scares the hell out of a lot of people, Elena, because it's very difficult to predict the future. But Jim Collins, in his research that he published in Good to Great, said that something that he described as a big, hairy, audacious goal, or a BHAG, requires between 10 and 30 years to do something great in the world, which is a very long time. But I take the shorter end of that window, Elena, and we've got what we call a 10-year obsession. And the Physio Co has a 10-year goal to deliver 2 million consultations to Australian seniors. And we've been working away at that for almost 8 years now. And so we've got this 10-year goal, but of course 10-year goals are far too long for most team members. So we break that down into what we call 3-year painted picture visions, which is a short, sharp document, which is describes what we're going to do in a 3-year period, and we track that, we obsess over it, and we celebrate the mini victories when we bring parts of that vision to life. And so just to recap, the first part of the culture system was discover the core, and the second part was document the future. So we all know, once we've got the foundations right, where we're headed as the second part of the system. 2 more quick parts, which I won't spend so much time on, but the third part is called execute relentlessly. And I think I'll just momentarily point to this one that says it's all well and good to have ideals of having a strong culture and a growth business, but unless you do repeat the systems over and over and over again and refine them, then you're never going to get the growth journey that people are often hoping for. So execute relentlessly is the next step, and the example in there is that we have a 7-step recruitment process, to a very robust process to make sure we have the right people joining our team. And the very fourth part of our culture system is called show more love. And Elena, I used to have this, what I thought was a fantastic team of people that was showing up, but I just could feel it, that they could give more, and we could work harder, and we could get more purposeful in the work we did. But I reflected that why is it that I feel like I love what I do, but these people are doing an okay job, but not really giving everything they could? And the answer was very simple, is that if I expected them to love their work and love their job, then their job and the business and the business owner needed to love them first. And so by showing more love to team members, by an example, having a mini party every time a new team member joins the team to celebrate them and say thank you so much for joining the team, just one way of doing it. Secondly, a rhythm of parties to really celebrate the milestones throughout the year is pretty important as well. So I have skimmed over that, Elena, but to recap, 4-step system: discover the core, document the future, execute relentlessly, and show more love are the parts of the culture system that we use.
Well, thank you for sharing that in-depth system. I think that's awesome. So each of those has, a kind of general strategy, but then you really dive down into the tactical ways that your team can embody these values that you've set forth. And I think it gives people a very clear roadmap for not only what's expected of them, but how to execute on it, because you're leading by example and you're showing them exactly, what some of these things mean in real life. And I haven't always seen that at places I've worked, or even with some of my clients. I think there's a lot that we can all take from that to apply to our own businesses and company culture. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome, Elena. And it's there is a 19-step checklist which has fallen together by default in some ways. They're all the little parts of building a strong place to work that we've done at the Physio Co, and now I've documented them into 19 steps that we continue to obsess over, and that other people can borrow and attempt to tailor for their own business if they choose to.
Wow, I've got to say you seem extremely organized. It's really impressive.
Well, it's looking backwards. It's reflection that helps to get the system in place, I reckon, Elena. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah. Well, so thanks for sharing those tips on how you built the culture. Do you have any other tips for how you were able to grow your business from about 20 people to 100 people?
So this culture-based system really is the basis for how we've done it. But I think it's important that we're flexible on what we deliver in a business, but we're very consistent in how we're going about it. And I think by keeping that in mind, we can grow a business in a fast way. And so to explain that some more is that how we go about it, meaning the values-based selection of the right people into our business, and the values-based way that we provide customer service in a consistent and caring way where people can predict what their experience will be like when they work at the Physio Co is what I mean by consistency in the how. By the same token, flexibility in the what is important to keep in mind, because the services or products that you provide need to be based upon what the market is looking for. And so there has to be a constant evolution and refining of the product and service that you're providing. You need to be flexible in the what you deliver, but you need to be very consistent in the how you go about delivering that experience. And I think by keeping those two things in mind is another really important tip for people to be able to grow a business in a consistent fashion.
Yeah, I love that distinction, because even if you change your offerings, if you stay true to your values and the way that you deliver value, then you're going to keep your brand consistent, and people will still continue to know what to expect from you and the level of quality that they're going to get. So that's a fabulous distinction. Be flexible on what you deliver, but consistent on how. So let me shift gears a little bit. You've had a lot of success building Physio Co, but can you tell us about a time when you've stagnated or you stopped making progress and how you got things back on track?
It was April of 2012. And this painted picture vision was due to come to life by the 31st of December 2012. So I'm talking about 7 or 8 months early, we hit this goal of having 50 team members. And it was super exciting because we've been obsessing over it for 2.5 years, and we've been growing and growing fast and growing from 20 people to 50. And we hit this goal, and it was super exciting. We sent out this letter to all of our team members and we gave them a gift. And we sort of had a party to celebrate the 50 people joining the team. At a similar time, just a month later, we also were ranked number 8 on Australia's best places to work, and therefore we hit that goal of being in the top 10. And this is all so exciting and so rewarding for our team. But what happened next was really quite challenging, and that is that we were still 6 months before the end of what we described as our 3-year painted picture period. And we hadn't planned or released what comes next after these initial goals were achieved. And in that 6-month period between when we achieved some of these really important goals and when the period came to an end, and then we released the next step, next base camp to move to in our vision, we actually had a bit of a drop in our typically high retention of staff rates. We had a challenging time where there was more work to be done with less people. And we had a drop in morale and a drop in the really strong culture that we had. And it became quite a stressful time because the people that were there were having to do more work, and we couldn't necessarily recruit enough people to come in because it was a stressed environment, and it's very difficult to recruit into a stressed environment. And so what I had to personally roll up my sleeves and become much more supportive and close to the team leaders and team members to help them and support them through this tough time. We had to add resources to help to be more support, more leadership in our first line group of physical therapists. And we got through that challenging time, and we moved on and we set our next challenge, and we've moved forth, and we're certainly on track again quite a few years later. But Elena, my reflection and my learning from that time was that it's really important that you have a very clear next step and next and direction and vision, very clear to the senior team, the middle management team, and the people delivering the service. Because if it's not clear as to where you're headed next, then some people might think, well, that was a fantastic journey and we've done such an awesome job, but I can't see the next challenge here, so I might go looking for my next challenge somewhere else. And that was a really difficult time for us. And that's exactly what happened. People obsessed over those goals. They came on the journey with us, but then just a small number of those 50, I think there was about 3 or 4 of them, was so excited about what they'd achieved, they went looking for the next challenge somewhere else, and we hadn't made it clear as to where the next challenge was within our business. So that was a pretty challenging time, and on reflection, I would have made sure we had a very clear next step in place. Alana, does that help share an example with you guys?
Yeah, that's great. That's a really interesting issue that you bring up, because it's like you guys are ahead of schedule, you're knocking it out of the park, you're doing so well, but then it presented a whole like host of unexpected issues, and usually it's kind of like the other way around, that people are underperforming and you have issues. So that's a really interesting example. I haven't heard that one. I have another question though. So it sounds like you're incredibly driven, you push yourself very hard, you're super goal oriented. So what do you do to take care of yourself while you're heading towards your 10-year goal and you're working so hard on your business?
Yeah, Elena, it's so important, because without taking care of myself, I can't take care of my team, and my team can't take care of our customers. And my job is to lead this business, but my job is to lead in a caring way. And over this journey that I've been at the Physio Co, initially I was a single 24-year-old young fella, and then over time I got engaged and got married. My wife and we've got 3 little children. And so during that time, my life has changed and the way I've taken care of myself has changed. And so to give a quick overview of how we manage it now is that we actually live, so my family and I'm working from home today, and I'm in my office, which is actually a 2-hour drive from our central office. And so I work from home 2 days a week, and then I'm in Melbourne and with my Physio Co team 3 days of the week, but 2 days of the week I'm at home, and I'm home with my family and with my kids. And so I drop the kids off at school and kinder, and that's part of the rhythm that we've got, is that I work hard with my team 3 days a week, but then I give them space to be able to get on with the job and not have the CEO always shoulder to shoulder with them, which is helpful for the team. It's also really helpful for me to have some space and to be outside of the big city, to have some time to reflect and think and grow myself and be engaged with my family. So that's one of the rhythms we use. And secondly, I absolutely make sure that once a quarter, my family and I have a break from work, and we go away for either a long weekend or 1 to 2 weeks to have a break and a recharge, and to disconnect from work and to make sure we're connected as a family. And so that's part of the rhythm. I exercise as well. Elena, I run a couple of times a week, and I ride my bike on the weekend. So there's some exercise is really important as well. But I think that rhythm of balancing, or actually I don't like to call it balancing, I like to call it blending of work and other parts of my life is the way I go about it.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you've put a lot of thought into how you can blend the two. So that's always a good thing when people are intentional about that. It means that you actually are trying to take care of yourself. Yeah. Let's go ahead and close with a parting piece of guidance for us. You've already given us so many great insights, but hopefully you've saved one more to leave us with.
Yeah, look, I think so, Alana. I think that I'm particularly driven. You've mentioned that, you've picked up on that, all these systems and the like, but also I think it's so important that we celebrate the successes and milestones along the way, and enjoy the fun that is the challenge of growing a business. And so one thing that I do with my kids every day is that at dinner every night we have a little question we ask ourselves, and my 3-year-old daughter is the one who owns this. She loves it. She likes to ask the questions of at dinner time. And the question is, she asks of all 5 people in our family, is what's the most fun thing that happened today? When did you smile and laugh and share something, a fun moment in your day? And that little question is so important, because we share, that we smile, we laugh, and we enjoy some stuff during the day. Then we recap it again at night time, and we enjoy the beauties that is life and these challenges we have. So if there's one parting gift I'd have, or parting piece of advice, is remember to smile, remember to laugh, and remember to reflect on those good times, because life's too short to only focus on the challenges.
Yeah, celebrate the successes and milestones along the way and enjoy the fun. So I hope today's episode inspires you to think more about how you can find your passion and live your best life. For more information, including links to resources that Tristan and I chatted about today and how best to get in touch with him, head on over to our website, theboostpodcast.com, and check out our show notes from this episode and catch the Boost bonus. Tristan, I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us today. And remember, anything is possible for you.
Now that you've completed this episode, the next step is to join the Boost Squad for strategic insights, tips, and tricks, as well as exclusive resources designed specifically to accelerate your personal and professional growth. All this and more is waiting for you at mosaicgrowth.com.